morning guys, I hope that you're all having a great morning so far, and as you can tell the weather is super nice and sunny today. Lots of natural lighting. So as promised, I'm back with another video where I wanted to just update you on how my last week of clinic went. Officially last week, where we were in clinic for the last time as first year dental students finishing up our class 3 preparation and restoration. I was thinking too while I'm at it, wrapping up the first year. I know I already talk about advice or things I learned from my first year of dental school, but I also felt like I learned a lot over the past 3 weeks where we had some days spent in clinic. I just wanted to throw in a little tips on what I found would have just helped me a lot. They're quite basic and simple, but yeah, I just thought of them along the way, and I would like to share that as a way to tie up first year. So now, just as an update, I wanted to just talk briefly about how it was working with class 3 preps and resto. So it was pretty fun. I definitely like working with class 3 a lot more than class 2. These class 3 cavities are caries that occurs in the interproximal surfaces of the anterior teeth. So as opposed to class 2, which was posterior teeth, this type of caries in class 3 occurs on the anteriors, like your central incisors, lateral incisors, and canines. So in our first exercise, we had to just prepare a small prep on the lingual surface. Obviously, there are advantages to approaching or starting your prep from the lingual surfaces and approaching these types of preps. It was interesting to work with indirect vision again and getting used to still trying to see your position with the mirror. Also, I found that I still have a hard time with trying to align my burr straight, so that's what I've been personally still working on, with just trying to take my time, and before I cut, always check to make sure that my burr is aligned. As well, with the restoration part, working with composite has definitely been a lot more fun than working with amalgam. I definitely feel like now that I've learned the proper steps and sequences to not only incrementally layer them on, but also with polishing. Polishing is such an important step and component in composite restoration, and I feel like after I have learned the proper techniques, they are starting to come along, and they actually did look the way that I wanted them to. Obviously, the shades are not going to be matching 101 yet, as we are just working on the plastic teeth for now. So as promised, I'll just talk about the main takeaways or the tips I found that would have made clinic easier for me, or clinic sim for first year. And that's definitely first. Planning and time management is everything. I would say that the night before, when you have time, actually review and plan what you are going to do on that day, because honestly that would help save a lot of time and a lot of confusion on your end. It would be nice to look at your schedule, see how much time is allotted for each exercise, and then plan out your time accordingly. Say set aside 10 minutes max for rubber dams, and then the rest of the time 30 minutes to try out your new exercise like class 3 preparation. And that way you have something to be accountable for, and you stick by your schedule in order to not lose any time. I feel like a side trap that I always fall into is just that when you're starting something new, I always take my time with it, because I wanted to essentially in the end perfect it. As I keep going at it and I keep going at it, something always is got messed up, or I always end up doing something that I didn't anticipate on doing, and then I would try to spend the next 5 minutes I promised myself to fix that, but it ended up getting worse. I feel in order to do that better, I should just taking out the tooth, put a new one, and start over, learning using the mistakes that I've made before to guide me in doing the new one better. I feel that would have saved a lot of time. And then the second tip I would say is just to apart from planning out your time and set aside certain time for certain tasks, also be mindful too that your schedule or your time management can change depending on what other mishaps or other things that may come up. What I've learned throughout several times in clinic is that no matter how prepared you think you are, I guarantee you, something will always come up that throws your schedule off. Also along that note too, I guess, be open and be creative to creating new solutions for certain problems or certain mishaps that may come up. That's an important skill for definitely later on. And the third tip too, I guess, to go along with keeping an open mind about finding new solutions for new problems, is to also keep an open mind to becoming better and improving at what you do. Obviously, none of us is heading into this expect to be good at it right away. I mean, that was a humbling experience for me, is just to keep an open mind and be open to constructive criticisms from your instructor, to not beat yourself up. It is definitely hard to see that you aren't good at something right away compared to other people. This is reminding me a lot about the last video that I made where I talk about how I need more practice and how I'm not good at class 2 amalgam prep. It's pretty nerve-wracking to actually like talk about that to the camera and have that like, exposed to like the World Wide Web that you're not good at something initially. But it also just reminds me too that this is like a good time for me to spend more time to practice and to learn about okay how I can go at it better. It's actually a nice humbling experience because I got to learn more about how to perfect this technique. I would just say that to don't be ashamed by your mistakes and learn from them. Don't be afraid to try something new or try again several times if needs be, and ask for help. Keep an open mind. I suppose one other tip that I have is just to, make the best of it. Honestly, time flies by super fast when you're in clinic, so make the most out of it. Talk to your friends, obviously, when they're not busy. This is the time to learn from one another, not only from your instructors, but also from your peers. Like, take the time to get to know your friends around your op or your areas. Ask them about how they're doing certain techniques or how they are doing certain things. You'll be surprised at how much you can learn from other people. Just make sure to enjoy it, because otherwise by the time that you know it, it will all be long behind you and you may already be graduated before you know it. So just take the time to enjoy what you have right now. And one thing too is definitely to start building in good habits now. So this is something that I've learned too from my instructor. Even if you're starting out in your first year clinic sim, it's not too late to start becoming aware of how you are approaching certain tasks and start simulating the situation and see how you would actually approach a certain ways to prepare a certain prep or a certain restoration if there is a real live patient sitting in your chair. I think this is definitely a very important thing to be aware of and to consider for later on when you're actually starting to see patients in the subsequent years to come. And just to give example, maybe think of the way that you would perhaps incorporate certain techniques or like hold a certain instrument a certain way or like cut away from the patients. Just overall being mindful of what a patient in your chair, how they would react to certain things. It's important too because then you are aware of potentially your bad habits or what you are doing now that would serve you later in the long run when you are helping or when you are treating actual patients. Like I said, it's really hard to break habits, but as long as you are aware and you are determined to break them or you are determined to improve for the better, it is just something that is good to consider for later on. That's just what I've been thinking of right now off the whim from what I've learned from my time back in clinic in the last 3 weeks. Honestly, after each day, I definitely feel like I've learned a lot and I'm very grateful for the time that I was able to spend in clinic. So recently, just before the school starts, I found that there are quite a number of tasks that I need to get done with regards to school and also with life. I just feel like I've been like a little bit, my life has been a little bit hectic in the past week trying to get things sorted out, but creating to-do lists definitely helps a lot. So today I had just finished doing the student orientation modules that are going to be important for later on when we work in a community or with our placements. Just some of the modules aren't too applicable for me yet, but I just wanted to get some of the components done so I don't have to worry about them later. Also, there are things I wanted to do to catch up on before school starts next week. The days when we are back in clinic, there are certain components of what we are doing that I have forgotten since back then, and I feel like I definitely need to review some more terminology with the different patient exams that we will be doing or catching up on and seeing how that goes. This is Tiff. She's the best.